Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So you're speaking of the word yawm. So yawm, when it is connected to a fi'l mumtad like fasting, then what is meant with it is bayadun nahar, the whiteness of the day. Right. وَيُذْكَرُ وَيُرَادُ بِهِ مُطْلَقُ الْوَقْتِ. And yawm is sometimes mentioned and intended with it is general time. قال الله تعالى وَمَن يُوَلِّمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ دُبُرَهُ. And Allah Ta'ala says, and who on that day has turned his back. And so in others in the Battle of Badr, right? So that turning your back is something that you do it and it's finished. It doesn't. It's not a fairly mumtad, right? So here it refers to, in other words, time. You understand? Whether it's day or night. On that day, it doesn't mean only bayadun nahar. It means just time, right? Wal muradu bihi mutlaqul waqt. So the intended what it here in this ayat is general time. فَيُحْمَلُ عَلَيْهِ إِذَا قُرِنَ بِفَعْلٍ لَا يَمْتَدُّ. So it will be carried upon mutlaqul waqt when it is joined with an action that doesn't stretch. وَالطَّلَاقُ مِنْ هَذَا الْقَبِيلِ. And talaq is from this category. In other words, it's a فعل لا يمتد, right? فَيَنْتَظِمُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ. So it will include the day and the night because it's mutlaq time. Any time in the 24 hours, you understand? It will refer to it now. وَلَوْ قَالَ أَنَيْتُ بِهِ بَيَاضَ النَّهَارِ خَاصَةً دُيْنَ فِي الْقَضَاءِ. However, if he says, I intended with it the whiteness of the day only, then he will be believed in the courts also. Why? لِأَنَّهُ نَوَى حَقِيقَةَ كَلَامِ. Because he intended the reality of his speech. You understand? So even in the courts, if you say, no, I this, but he said, the day I marry you. You understand? So then he says in court, I intended the day. So which means the night I could marry her. You understand it? So he will be believed. Why? Because that's exactly what his speech entails, right? وَاللَّيْلُ لَا يَتَنَاوَلُ إِلَّا السَّوَادَ وَالنَّهَارُ لَا يَتَنَاوَلُ إِلَّا الْبَيَادَ خَاصَةً وَهُوَ اللُّغَةُ. Why? Because if you look at the hakiki meaning, the night doesn't include except the darkness, and the day doesn't include except the whiteness only. And this is the lugwi meaning. You understand it? So he intended the reality of his speech. In other words, that's exactly what his speech could mean, right? ومن قال لامرأته أنا منك طالق فليس بشيء وإن نوى طلاقا. And he said to his wife, I am divorced from you. Then there's no talaq, even though he intended talaq, because it's normally she that's divorced from him. You understand? Okay, just take it. You'd say I am the man won't say I am divorced from you. He'll rather say, you are divorced from me. You understand it? So if he says, I'm divorced from you, then that amounts to nothing, even if he intends talaq. ولو قال أنا منك بائن. And if he said, I am buying from you, or or alayki haramun, I am haram upon you, yen with talaq and intends talaq, then it will amount to a talaq. فهي طالق, then she'll be divorced. فقال الشافعي رحمة الله عليه يقول طلاق في الوجه الأول أيضا. Imam Shafi rahmatullahi says talaq will occur in the first case also. إذا نوى, if he intends. Right. لأن ملك النكاح مشترك بين الزوجين. And Imam Shafi rahmatullahi is dalil for this, to say that أنا منك طالق amounts to a talaq, right? So what he says, لأن ملك النكاح مشترك بين الزوجين. The ownership of nikah is parted between the spouses. حتى ملكت المطالبة بالوتي كما يملك هو المطالبة بالتمكين. So much so that she owns demanding wati. She can request and demand wati from the husband, just as he has the power to demand her to allow him tamkeen, right? To allow him to make wati, right? وَكَذَا الْحِلُّ مُشْتَرَكٌ بَيْنَهُمَا. And likewise, being halal for one another is also partnered between them, right? وَالطَّلَاقُ وُضِعَ لِإِزَالَتِهِمَا. And talaq is placed to remove these two things. What is that? Ownership and hillat, right? فَيَصِحُ مُضَافٌ مُضَافًا إِلَيْهِ. So therefore, talaq will be correct to be attributed to the husband. كَمَا يَصِحُ مُضَافًا إِلَيْهَا. Just as it is correct to be attributed to her. You understand? كَمَا فِي الْإِبَانَةِ وَالتَّحْرِيمِ. Just like we also say, you understand? Just like you also say, Ahnaf, in Ibana and Tahrim, you can attribute it to any one of the two. So why only in talaq? This is Imam Shafi'i's point here. Why only in talaq? When it's attributed to the man, you say it's not valid. You're only saying it's valid when it's attributed to the woman. Whereas you also say when the buying and the haram is attributed to the man, then it's valid. You got that now? Right. وَلِأَنَّ الطَّلَاقَ لِإِزَالَةِ الْقَيْدِ وَهُوَ فِيهَا دُونَ الزَّوْجِ. Our dalil is that talaq is to remove the restriction, right? And that the restriction is in her and not in the husband. She's the one that's restricted in the house. Talaq comes to remove this restriction. She can't leave the house without his permission. So talaq comes to remove all these restrictions. ألا ترى أنها هي الممنوعة عن التزوج بزوج آخر والخروج. Do you not see that she's the one that's prohibited from marrying another man, and she's the one that's prohibited from leaving the house? ولو كان لإزالة الملك فهو عليها لأنها مملوكة والزوج مالك. And if you say talaq is to the, okay, so we said talaq is what is it? It is to the izalatul qaid, to remove the restriction. But if you say it is to remove the ownership, then we say, okay, if talaq is to remove the ownership, then the ownership is over her, because she's the one that's owned, and the master is and the husband is the owner. You understand? وَلِهَذَا سُمِّيَتْ مَنْكُوحَةً. And for this reason, she has been called a mankuha and not nakiha. You understand? And she's called a mankuha, in other words, just because she's like a mamluka. You got that? Right. Okay, leave it to me.